Okay, we are joined by Judge Green of the Juvenile Court. Judge, if you would please introduce who you've brought with you and then begin your presentation to the committee.
Certainly. To my left, my far left, is Charles Ward, who, if you don't know Charles Ward, you haven't lived in Davidson County over 5 years. To my immediate left is Jim Swack. He is our budget person, budget and personnel. I neglected to tell you, Mr. Ward is our Chief Probation Officer. To my right is Tim Agent, who's our court administrator over programs. He handles the probation officers and the programs that are associated with the court. Mr. Swack handles he's the court administrator for the budget and personnel issues that come before the court. As a preliminary matter, I just want to say one thing and tell you about one thing that we've done this year. I know that juvenile court, by definition, is a judicial body, but I also want you to know what it's doing for public safety and for the youth of Davidson County. At any given time, we have close to 500 young people in this county that are on probation to our workers. Now, you can give them rules, you can have them sign the rules, you can give their parents rules, and you can have their parents sign the rules. But those rules mean nothing if they're not enforced. And during the year, back in March, we took all of our probation officers, what we call outposted probation officers, 50 school resource officers, and a number of police officers, and we did curfew and room checks. Now, we're not doing that as a gotcha. We are doing that to make sure that the young people that are on supervised probation to this court are where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be, doing what they're supposed to be. And the good news in that for you, because these children live in all of your neighborhoods, is that 95% of those checks checked were exactly where they were supposed to be, when they were supposed to be there, doing what they were supposed to be doing. Now, I will tell you, we did have one that was an entrepreneur. He had enough drugs to be charged with possession for resale. We also recovered a gun from one young man's room. But I think 95% is pretty darn good. And I think the credit for that goes to the people that work at the court, the probation officers, goes to resource officers in the school, to the police officers that partner with us. And I think that's a very important service that I'm not sure you even know the juvenile court does. But we do, and we will continue to do it. We will be losing 2 positions. We have received a 2% cut in the mayor's budget. That translates into actually 3 positions, 2 plus some percentage. So it's actually 3 positions that we will be losing. 2 of those are probation officer positions. One of those was a support specialist, which is someone that helps with the charging, with getting the paperwork ready for detention hearing, with getting lawyers appointed, with getting all of the things done that have to be done within that 24-hour period when we're trying to get a case into court. And with that, I'll entertain any questions you have.
Thank you, Judge. Councilman Stein, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge, it seems that now this may be the 2nd or 3rd year running that we were having the discussion about probation officers. I don't know if there's a vendetta against probation officers, or you all are just so clever that you know it's one of those things that council is most interested in as you list for elimination. I want to particularly focus, though, on the one that's been at the attendance center. Obviously, the attendance center has been one of the great successes of the last 4 years, and the mayor's office and your court and all the folks there have dramatically impacted truancy in this community and worked with these families and young people. My question is, it says in our analysis that from you all that the position's been vacant in this past year. My question is, what effect does that have on the overall functioning of the attendance center? Because if everybody's, I assume there's still some other presence from you all there, because if everyone's not there, then it doesn't function, right?
Right.
Could you help us understand a little bit about?
It is going to hurt, and there's no way to put any other spin on it. Initially, we will be fine because, as you know, the beginning of the school year, we don't have the volume of cases that we will have by the end of the school year. To compound that, we had a resignation last week from another employee that is stationed at the attendance center. Now that position we should be able to fill. But this one that we're giving up, I think that we'll be fine initially. And we will try to make enough adjustments that we can handle the caseload that we get. We had some new initiatives we were hoping to start at the attendance center this year, and I think that's where you might see those put on the back burner for a while.
Well, for those that don't know, I mean, this attendance center has dramatically improved the situation of kids going to school, and the school system's gotten on board and finally take attendance, and all that seems to be working together in a way that we can really point to something that has made a difference both for young people and families, but also in education in this community. So I would hate for it not to function on all cylinders. And again, I say this without any I don't want to raise hopes at all because in this discussion, but I do think that as we talk about this budget going forward, that the one probation officer at $51,000 for the attendance center ought to be $51,200 ought to be on the table for us to discuss as we put this budget together. And Mr. Chair, I would ask that that be placed on the wish list.
So noted. Council Lady Berry? Nope. Councilman Davis, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work you do. Two questions. First, projected program revenue was down about $150,000. Just wondering why you guys are projecting that to be down this year, if anything's changed.
Councilman, I believe I may can respond to that. The biggest portion of that was $144,000 grant revenue at the time when I was making those entries in our web budget program. We had not received any information from the state, specifically from the State Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth, as the status of our Juvenile Accountability Block Grant. And so not having had any confirmation or information on that at the time, I did not enter that in as projected revenue. However, I am happy to report that I have since then received information from Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth that we will be receiving that particular grant in the upcoming fiscal year.
Okay, great.
But we're not out of the water yet. There is another grant that we use to pay for 11 probation officers that also comes from the state.
Yeah, is that the $400,000?
Yes.
Okay.
We have been told that we will get it this year. We don't know. It's a year-to-year process. We haven't received any actual written confirmation of that, and that would literally gut our probation program.
My second question was basically what would we do? Would we just cut 11, 12 officers, and that's what we'd have to live with?
We would have to do that, and we would have to go from a situation of we would hear cases in juvenile court, and we would put the worst of the worst on probation, and we'd pray for everybody else.
Okay, thank you.
Council Lady Moore, you're recognized.
Good evening. I have about 3 questions, well 4. Who does your training for your SRO officers?
They're not ours. They work for Metro Schools in the police department.
Okay. I just heard you say something about them. And the group care aid, I saw that somewhere. What is that, group care aid?
We have some employees that have been with us for a long time. Most of them are residents of some of the housing developments in Davidson County. They work part-time and it came from the drug elimination grants, how we got started with it. But these people do things like go around and check and see if the kids that live close to them, who they know personally, are on that school bus, if they get off the school bus in the afternoon, if they're out late at night, they certainly check on them. That they're kind of probation officers just in a local environment, and they are very effective because, first of all, they don't have to have the college degree that a probation officer has to have. We call them the mom squad. And they know all of the kids, they know who their parents are, they know where they're supposed to be, and they certainly know if they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing. So they have been extremely effective, and they are a big bang for the buck.
Okay. My other question, I have just recently utilized your kids' advocacy program. It's for education. And I mean, it's a great program. And I'm not sure how it's funded. I know that it's deals with kids basically who have had some problem with their IEPs. Are you aware of that program?
The Department of Education, I believe, is the initiator of that funding. Now, I'm not sure who distributes it, but it comes through the State Department of Education through Metro. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilman Westerholm, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Judge. I just had a quick question to follow up on something Councilman Stein brought up. I think many of us are big fans of the work that's been done in truancy, and looking at the next section of the letter that you provided for us, it looks like there's about 17 vacant positions. Would any of those vacant positions, could those be reclassified to maybe even add positions to that particular purpose?
Just because they're there doesn't mean they're funded.
Okay.
They are allocated positions,
not funded?
but there's a difference in allocation and funding. And certainly the ones that we can fill, we certainly will be filling, but we can't, if we don't have the money for them, we can't fill them.
Okay, thank you.
Council Lady Gilmore, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to ask you about the SHAPE program that they have in Memphis, and have we looked, are you familiar with the SHAPE
I'm not familiar with it. I have just read the recent audit of Memphis, and I believe that there was a reference to that in it, but I would be kind of exaggerating if I told you I was familiar with it.
Well, it's a program that they take some of the juvenile court officers and the principals work together to try to keep the kids in the school. So if they have an offense before they go directly to juvenile court, because
we've been doing that for years.
Okay,
yes.
but
20 years.
Yeah.
Okay, but I guess it's a more comprehensive program.
No, and what used to happen in Shelby County was that if a child got in trouble at school, they were brought directly to juvenile detention. Okay. And then juvenile detention referred them wherever. Okay. We have had a long-standing agreement with Davidson County Schools that they will handle the majority of school incidents as school incidents, not as criminal conduct. Now, we work with Alignment Nashville, we work with the school, with everybody involved in that. Now, we want them to bring, if the child has done something that's worthy of being brought to juvenile court, certainly bring them on. But every child that gets in trouble at school does not need to come to detention. And the schools have been really good about working with them.
So even if they stay at the school and they don't come there, how does it go in terms of a record? Do they still have a record?
Well, they probably never charged.
Okay.
So there would be no record. Now, they could still come down and charge them without bringing the child to the court. But in most cases, we found that they're working these out, particularly since most of the schools now have SROs that are there and can help kind of cool off, work out, counsel with the kids. They have three choices. They can make no referral whatsoever to the court, and we don't even know about it. Number two, they can handle the situation at the school and later come down and file a petition with the court, and then that child would be called in to meet with a probation officer. There would be an appearance hearing and all of the other stuff that goes with that. Thirdly, if it's an extremely disruptive situation and a serious situation, that child can be brought directly to the juvenile court and charged.
Okay. I would like to have some statistics on that. How many kids, is that information that you have accessible?
Well, we don't know how many aren't charged.
Okay,
we can
but
get
just how many,
maybe
how many have infractions and how many end up at juvenile, and the breakdown of female, male, and
Now, the MSAC Center does a really good job. I mean, the kids go to MSAC because they've been loitering during school hours or they're truant, but truthfully...
Can you use the acronyms? I'm sorry, they throw me off. I'm just not that familiar.
Metropolitan Nashville School Attendance.
Okay, gotcha. I'm with you.
And when they get there, they find out that many of these young people have some behavioral issues in the school also. So probably, if truth be known, a good many of the children that come to us through MSAC are actually school problems that have either dropped out, just quit going to school, taken a little sabbatical. They are not in school.
Okay, but you'll still be able to give the statistics of how many kids?
We'll give you what we have. We can't tell you how many the schools never send to us.
That's fine. Just what you have. That's what I need. Thank you.
Council Lady Weiner, you're recognized.
Thank you, Judge. I have a few questions about MSAC. What is the capacity?
We really don't know. We have had last year approximately 300 children go through there. Some children come and meet with us one time. It's not a residential program. It's not a program where they come every day. It's a program where we get them referred for services that hopefully will get them into school regularly. And we have run as many as 300 during the course of the year. And that's why when I answered Councilman Stein's question, first, early in the year, the numbers are low, but as the year goes on, the numbers mount. So it depends entirely on the number of workers we have there. I can tell you we have handled 300 in a year.
Do you adjust from time to time based on your student flow, the ratio of students to the staff that are there to facilitate?
We have no idea of the flow. What we do is we stay with the ones from last year as long as that's feasible to do with the staff that we have. And as we add for the new year, then that will drop off some of these that appear to be going to school and doing well, and we will check on them less frequently. So it's just kind of a balancing. It's like, you know, trying to keep the levels where it's workable and manageable. We don't want to bite off more than we chew.
So your criteria that you use to determine your staffing needs for your budget is based on historical data? It's
based on historical data. We have people that are assigned there that used to be working truancy cases at the court. Metro Schools has people placed there that used to also work those cases through Metro. So we've all come together in a partnership on that, and the resources are now together. So the cases that we take from juvenile court are the ones that we think we can more appropriately deal with. The school attendance people deal with other cases. Some of the children need a referral to the Department of Children's Services. So we may see a child one time and pass that child to an agency that's better equipped to help. Or we may keep that child with us an entire year. It's just really hard to tell you.
All right. I thank you.
Judge, I don't believe we have any more questions for you, so thank you so much for being here.